This episode of Simone Love's Hour is sponsored by TDS Accounting and Tax Services, where we provide a wide range of services. We provide accounting services tailored to your specific business needs. We also provide personal and business tax services. So give us a call today at 202-299-4082. Again, 202-299-4082 to set up an appointment today.
I'm Simone Love, and after my son was sentenced to life plus 527 years, I took on some of the guilt for his predicament, which I portray in this next release titled Sorry, available now on most streaming networks.
I'm so sorry.
Do you like action, adventure, and romance? Good. My name is Rodney A. Nobles. I am the author of the Drifter book series. The series is about a prominent black professional named Max Cordell. He was a high-profile lawyer and world karate champion who owned 2 karate schools. He was falsely accused of having relations with a teenage student. He was stripped of his law license, his school was shut down, and he was thrown into prison. After spending nearly 2 years in prison, the teenage girl admitted it was all a lie. Max Cordell left prison a scarred man. Although he wanted nothing else to do with humanity, he couldn't turn his back on people who were being oppressed by bad people. He used his martial arts skills and his legendary sword to help people, and then he would move on. The people began calling him the Drifter. The book series can be purchased from my website, www.rodneyanobles.com. Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to Simone Love's Reality Radio, where we'll be hearing uncut, uncensored conversations about prison love, mental health, addiction, wrongful convictions, and much, much more. I'm your host, Simone Love. Thank you for tuning in, and please enjoy the show.
Listen up, listen in, listen in. Tell your mom, tell a friend, tuna man. Listen up, listen in, listen in. Tell your mom, tell a friend, tuna man. Love, 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 love. The Simone Love Show. Love, 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 love. The Simone Love Show.
My son has been incarcerated for over a decade now, after being sentenced to 12 life terms for a non-life-taking crime. This journey, our journey, in our quest for his freedom through activism and criminal justice reform, I've come across numerous inmates. Since they face seclusion from the world, we decided to start recording our calls. Most times, we forget the recording is on, and this is how we created Simone Love's Reality Radio, Dead from Society, Alive for Profit, Voices of the Incarcerated. For those of you who missed the last episode, today we are going to continue a conversation with Mr. Waymond Wright, a gentleman who was sentenced to approximately 17 years for a crime he states he did not commit. A crime where the victim never showed up to court, a crime where the victim gave a false name, and a crime where another attorney, Miss Melissa Dill, wrote to the current Attorney General and stated that this man is totally innocent. Despite all these factors, this man continues to serve this sentence. Please listen in. Okay, we're back here, and so you said this, the first incident that happened on that night was the charges were dropped. So let's talk about the second incident in a little bit more detail. So on the night of the incident in question, were you at this location?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So from your recollection, are you saying that you don't recall any type of or being present when a crime was committed or witnessing
Yes.
it or anything?
Absolutely not. I don't recall. I wasn't present when alleged robbery was occurring. I knew there was an altercation between the female and the guy that was there. And as far as I didn't see anybody rob anybody or take anybody's property off of them. No.
So the two individuals, you said it was an altercation. Are these the two that were later found to be your co-defendants?
It was one was my co-defendant and one was the alleged victim.
Okay, so your co-defendant and one of the alleged victims had some type of altercation.
Yeah.
And what do you think was happening when that? What do you remember seeing that caught your attention?
What caught my attention was the fact that they were like fighting. They were like into a tussle. That was it.
And somebody broke it up, or?
Yeah, I tried to, intervene to, to calm the situation down, and that was it. But he was saying to the fact that she had something to his or something like that. I couldn't make out exactly what he was saying, but it was something that he was saying towards her, and that's all I know.
Towards her. Her is
my co-defendant.
You had two co-defendants, right? A man and a woman.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the victim and the woman co-defendant had some kind of tussle.
Yeah.
And did they have the surveillance cameras in the area?
Yes.
And did the surveillance cameras catch this incident?
Well, it doesn't. It catches them like in the area interacting with each other.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So you guys were all there together. Did you know the alleged victim?
No.
No.
We
okay.
wasn't together, but I just knew them. I knew the female through the guy, like I was mentioning to you earlier. He was there when my father was passing, so I knew they was girlfriend and boyfriend.
Okay.
Yeah, so we weren't there like hanging out together now.
And where was this incident? Where did it happen at?
This happened like on out 13. It was near some Lafayette apartments.
Like y'all were just on the corner or hanging at the park, or?
Nah, this was it's like a cut right there, where you go leave from the apartments to go to the Wawa. That's where I was at. And I also have like a picture, a still shot picture where they showed me on the side where the Wawa is and the stores are, and my co-defendant, the female, down there with the alleged victim, and her boyfriend was already down there. And it shows me at the top. So when the incident was supposed to occur, I was at the top, and I have the picture to show it.
Okay, so when you first got arrested, and I'm sure you had a public defender or whoever come and tell you about what they're saying happened.
Right.
Like presented you with the evidence. So at that point, what did he say?
They didn't really say too much of anything. They never even interviewed me. I was just going to court. Like I said, I went to the first preliminary hearing. That's what I knew about that. Whatever evidence they had was mentioning there. And it wasn't really anything that involved me.
Okay, so you had like a public defender, right?
Yes.
And he never came and discussed anything with you?
Yeah. Well, they stated that that there was nothing showing on the surveillance video that says that I committed a crime.
Did he ever offer you a plea bargain or anything?
Well, they offered me a plea at the day at trial, and I said, a plea for what? And they was offering me to take a plea to a robbery charge and conspiracy.
Okay, so
And I said I didn't commit a crime, and I was questioning, well, where's the victim at? Because the victim can exonerate me from this.
right.
And there was no victim.
So prior to the trial date, your attorney never came and discussed this case with you?
Yeah, well, he did come, and he was just saying that there was really no evidence.
So he recommended going to trial?
Yes.
Okay. So he said there's no evidence. Did he discuss anything with you regarding the details of the questioning or the details of what he planned to question the other side or anything of that sort?
Yeah, well, he stated that he was going to bring some of the reports that he had in, and because one of the reports that he had said that I was never identified, and that there was a picture marked, and the person who identified my co-defendant said he marked the pictures, and so I was looking for the pictures that's been marked, and they never produced them. My lawyer never produced them. So he stated that he would bring that information up at trial, which he never did.
So we're at trial, and you are now sitting at the table with the woman and the man and the woman co-defendants, right?
Yes.
All right. So it's three of you all together at the table. And you have your trial that's taking place. And who is the first witness that they bring up?
The first witness they bring up is the first victim who pled the fifth. And then it was a whole lot of delays and plea bargains for my co-defendants. So one of my co-defendants, which was the female, after maybe second day, she took a plea to testify against me and my other co-defendant. So we knew that once we found out what she was saying, he figured that he would take a plea. And the reason why he said he took the plea was because she was pointing a finger at him. So, so now they both took plea bargains to testify against me, and they had to testify that I was involved with them while they committed this crime. Otherwise, the male co-defendant would have been sentenced as habitual, and so would the female co-defendant.
So initially, you're all sitting at the table, and the female decided to take a plea.
Yes.
So before the male took the plea, did she get up and testify?
No.
Okay. When the female and the male decided to take the plea, do they inform the jury of anything prior to them testifying?
Well, yeah, they give them some instructions and say that they need to look at their testimony as being suspicious, and I think it's called the Blaine instructions. What they give the jury, and they said, pretty much if a co-defendant is sitting at the table and they take a plea against another co-defendant, then you should be mindful of what they're saying about the other co-defendant that's sitting at the defendant table.
So do they say that they're given some kind of a deal in order to testify against you? Do they say anything like that?
No, they didn't say that, but it was brought up when they start testifying that they was offered a plea by my attorney as well as the state.
So when he's questioning these co-defendants, he mentions, did you get a deal for doing this or anything like that? This is what his line of questioning.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit, but he didn't go too far into it because, like I said, my lawyer, there was a conflict of interest that I later found out with the female co-defendant, because my lawyer and the female co-defendant was involved in an ongoing case that was at its appeal stages. because I was wondering why he wasn't touching on certain things about my co-defendant's prior bad acts, and he was limiting his questioning because of that ongoing case, and he could have possibly tainted the case that he was doing for an appeal.
Okay. Because I'm trying to envision in my mind, if I'm a juror, and I see co-defendants sitting at the table, 3 of them, then all of a sudden it becomes one person, and now they're sitting up on the stand testifying against you.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm envisioning how confusing and weird that could be for me. But you said they explained that they took a plea bargain and whatever the legal jargon is for it at this point. So what did they say about you being involved in the situation? Your co-defendants.
The co-defendants were saying, like, I held the guy while they committed the crime. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't true, because I have an email that I recently found, like, when I got my file, and it corroborates what I was saying earlier, that it was just the female and the male that was tussling. No one else had touched this individual. And it says that in the email that they got the surveillance video that shows the female and just the alleged victim interacting with each other. But for some reason, that information never came to trial, and it never was brought up. Every lot of stuff was just hitting, and that I just came across a few months ago.
So when you had the trial, besides your 2 co-defendants, who else testified?
The alleged, the witness, who they said seen the whole incident, the entire incident.
Okay. So it was another person at the location they claimed was there.
Yes.
And what did they say? Did they identify you or say you were involved?
No. They were asked, is the person that they picked out in a courtroom? And he said no. And he was shown a lineup of me. And he said that, and when he was the witness was shown a lineup of me, a lineup that I was president, and he was asked, did you pick anyone out of this lineup? And he says no. And then they said something to him in Spanish, and then later on, the judge says, ask him again, he might be confused. So it was questioned to him in Spanish, and the interpreter, now mind you, he was the interpreter for the alleged victim, and now he has an interpreter.
You have 1 minute remaining.
Okay.
So this was confusing.
So they had they spoke Spanish. Other than your 2 co-defendants, the other witness was Spanish.
Yeah.
So
the witness.
Okay. So
but when he was
go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, what I was saying is that when he was presented with a lineup with me president, and he said he never picked one out of that lineup. Then when he was asked, was the person that was in the courtroom that was involved in the crime, and I was the only one at the defendant table, he said, no, sir. And the judge intervened and told him to ask him the question again.
Did anybody object at that point, or the judge just... Break. We'll continue the conversation with Mr. Waymond Wright. So make sure you keep it locked right here on redmediaradio.com.
This is a prepaid call from
Rashid Harris,
an inmate at the County Correctional Facility. All phone calls are subject to recording and monitoring. To decline this call, press 9 now, and to accept this call, press 1 now. Thank you. Your call has been accepted.
Hold on. Start over for me. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Baby boy to a queen. You gave me life all the way to 13. Pressure me to do right. Hard-headed ways got me caught up in the fight. Old memories. I love you, ma. Give me unconditional love. Come give me a hug. When I come and resort, you my backbone. You show me love and support. Can you ever forgive me for the wrong choices I made? Days made me cry. Days you made better than others. Days we prayed to better each other. Days I came just to give a kiss to my mother. Today is the day I get forgiveness from others.
Baby boy. Baby boy, baby boy, baby boy, baby boy, baby boy, baby boy.
It's plenty of ways you can learn from one another. Even without a father, you still taught me how to love, respect, and be loyal to my woman. When my heart got broke, you was there when no woman wouldn't. Give me a shoulder to lean on, patted my back. Then you spoke on how everything gon' be alright. Turn my brother to a smile, how it shines so bright. Even in my darkest days, how the sun shines so bright. Even so, your sun grew to shine so bright. I try to bully the streets, what's your life like? It took me to get life to see what life is like.
Baby boy, baby boy, ooh, baby boy, baby boy, baby boy, baby boy, ooh, baby boy.
Just to give a kiss to my mother. Today's the day I get forgiveness from others.
1 minute remaining.
I got called back.
So, your first, let me just sum this up. The first incident that happened on the same night, the charges were dismissed, right?
Yes.
You're at the table with your two co-defendants. They decide to take a plea bargain. They take the stand against you, and you have one other witness that testifies and said that you were not in the vicinity, right?
No.
Who else testified? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, he didn't say I wasn't in the vicinity. He's saying that I wasn't involved.
Okay, you wasn't involved. So who else testified?
Just the police officer and the investigator for the state.
So, from what I understand, the supposed second victim never came to court.
No. There's not even a statement from that victim. Like, there was never an interview after the alleged incident where the victim stated what took place, who did what, or anything.
So
he gave fraudulent information of who he was.
So nobody could find him?
No.
So when did you say an officer testified?
Yes.
So what did he testify about if he didn't have a victim statement?
He just testified that pretty much he was the investigating officer, and he never mentioned anything about the victim.
What?
He just was talking about the interview that he had with the alleged witness, who prior said that I wasn't in the courtroom and he didn't pick me out in the lineup.
Well, that's weird that you don't mention anything about a victim during a trial that involved a victim.
Absolutely, and that's my concern.
Okay, so what did the judge say? Did your attorney do anything to try to, just like they dismissed the case for the first incident where the gentleman pleaded the fifth?
Yes.
Did your attorney do anything to try to get this dismissed? Did he
No.
raise any objections?
No. And what's more even troubling is that that he had a report that said that I was several feet away when the crime happened from a victim. From the witness that was interviewed from an investigator from our defense. And I never knew anything about that until a couple months ago. And I had already been incarcerated for like 10 years.
So you've been incarcerated for 10 years over this incident here?
Yes, this is my 11th year, yeah.
And how much time did you get?
Altogether, they gave me 14 years, and they gave me additional 4 years for they gave me 4 years for a criminal solicitation. They gave me 14 years for this charge.
Okay. So you got a total of 14 years that you're serving now, or you said you got some other charges too?
Well, I'm serving, them charges, were picked up on this incident. So the total for this charge here is 14 years, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
without a victim. Yeah.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying without a victim.
Without a victim, you were given a total of 14 years. And how much time did the other two get?
Well, one went straight home for conspiracy, and one had got three, I think 3 years, 3.5 years, something like that.
So he took, what were your charges in the end? Robbery, or what was it?
Yeah, it's a robbery second and conspiracy second.
And what was the one that got 3 years? What was he charged with in his plea bargain?
Robbery second and conspiracy second. The same as mine.
So the same charges, but you got 11 more years than he did?
Yes. And he actually admitted on stand that he committed the offense. That he said he did it out of spare of the mood, and he took this man's property, which is something that I didn't witness. And he was asked, well, was there any signal or any communication towards, between us? And he said no. And he said, did y'all conspire or talk about or plan to commit a crime together? And he said no. So the conspiracy there goes out the window because we never conspired. And I never knew anything about him committing a crime, nor did I see him commit a crime. Even though he admitted that he did it on the stand. If he did do it, he did it before I was there or after the fact. I don't know.
So I'm trying to understand, if there was two crimes committed on the same night, an hour apart from each other, nobody called the police to have them come out, and y'all were, people were just standing around to commit another crime an hour later and just hanging out and nothing happened?
That's always been a question of mine as well. So
wow.
I'm not it's not making sense to me.
So you filed an appeal, I'm assuming.
Yes, the lawyers filed an appeal, stated that they were going to file for insufficient evidence because just me being in the area doesn't make me guilty of a crime.
Mm-hmm.
But they sent me a letter stating that that's what they were filing, but when I get the copy of the appeal, that's not what was in the appeal. They were talking about the delays and the delays during trial and the plea bargains that my co-defendant made. They never mentioned about the insufficient evidence. So I was misled even on that, and I have paperwork showing and stating what was told to me.
So what other than that appeal, what other court filings have you presented?
I also filed a post-conviction for ineffective assisted counsel because of the investigative report that my lawyer had, where the witness stated that he never identified me and that he marked a picture of my co-defendant. And the state theory was that I was the only one identified, which wasn't true according to the witness statement to the investigator. So my lawyer responds to that in a notarized affidavit stating that the first report, which was done by our investigator, mentioned pronouns, and the second report does say that I was involved, which was not true. So I was concerned about this first report he was talking about that mentioned these pronouns. So I requested in 2022 for my whole file, 2021, and it took them to 2022 to give me my whole file. And when I got my file, I read that this first report doesn't mention pronouns. It clearly states who the individuals were, and it clearly states my two co-defendants and me. And it says that me being Wright was several feet away when the crime occurred, and that my two co-defendants, Mahaley and Huff, is the actual ones who committed the crime. And it states their names clearly. So he pretty much misled the court and deceived the court on what that report says, and I have the report in my possession.
I'm just still blundered by how you have a whole trial with no victim to testify, and how do you go through a whole trial and not even talk about what happened to a victim?
No, I didn't.
That's kind of weird in itself. And if the judge took it upon himself to intervene with that one situation, I don't understand how he can allow a trial to go on without a witness. And your attorney never even objected to this whole continuance. That should have been a motion to dismiss immediately, I would assume.
That's what I thought. I mean, I have researched, and there's no cases where the victim was unavailable unless the victim was deceased. Especially in like a robbery case, because you get into the particulars of what happened here.
Right.
So a victim has to come to court to establish that a crime occurred and who committed the crime. So they have to be some in-court identifications. There's just a procedure that's supposed to be followed that wasn't followed in my trial.
Clearly. I mean, I'm just a bystander on the outside looking in. It just doesn't even sit right with me. I wholeheartedly, I'm sorry that you're going through this. So what is your next steps?
Well, I'm still dealing with the fact that I lost my mother last year, December the 24th. I wasn't able to even say the proper goodbyes to her.
My condolences. So, and did they allow you to attend your mom's funeral?
No. They didn't even. I put a grievance in even on that to talk about that, saying I wasn't notified of what my options were, and they stated to me that they didn't have to tell me anything. I have a copy of the grievance, so it in their response. So yeah. So it's my next step is it's pretty much go on. This is an actual innocent case, and I think that the state should revisit this case and reinvestigate it, and it needs to be looked into.
Clearly.
So I'm trying to, yeah. But even the letter that was sent to the Attorney General 32 months ago still hasn't been responded to from the attorney. So
that's Kathleen Jennings, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I remember her mentioning in 2019 in her memorandum in February that she would, be willing to look into cases where there has been a miscarriage of justice. And this is clearly a a case of miscarriage of justice. And I think my case fits all the standards for it to be looked into.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what else do you want the public to know?
I want the public to know that I'm actually innocent of this crime, and I've been here over 10 years, and this is, is considered a cruel and unusual punishment. And, and any assistance will be greatly appreciated. And I want the public to know that this shouldn't happen, not just to me, but it shouldn't happen to nobody.
Right, you just be somewhere minding your own business, don't even know what's going on, and somehow you end up getting 14 years taken away from your life just because, and nobody seems to be vigilant in this judicial system about assuring that something like this doesn't happen. Like, there should be some type of second look at everything that goes on in this judicial system, other than judges ruling on their own motions and misconduct.
Absolutely.
Just doesn't, sit right and doesn't make
You
sense.
have 1 minute remaining.
Yes.
So,
absolutely.
Again, you have my contact number. After this break, we'll hear some final words from Mr. Waymond Wright. So make sure you keep it locked right here on redmediaradio.com.
Run that shit back, Eli.
When I look in the mirror, my expression seems so unreal. Hey, I can't believe how happy I feel when I'm with you, my dear. When I'm in the presence of my friend, my love for you is hard to conceal. Hey, it's written all over my face how happy you make me feel. I love you. Check this out. You make me feel so you make me feel so happy and good inside. You make me feel so I'm so happy, and I know why. When you first asked me to marry you, it was just like a fairy tale. The way you kneeled on one knee and presented me with my ring. At first I had uncertainty, and I don't know why. But now I am very clear of the love I have for you, my dear black man. Check this out. You make me feel so you make me feel so happy and good inside.
This is basically the summary of my case when I was arrested, which was September the 3rd, 2012. And I was arrested for robbery. It was supposed to have happened 2 weeks prior. After being arrested, 7 days later, I had a preliminary hearing where the investigating officer stated on the stand that he had no evidence. The only evidence that he did have was the surveillance video. So he was also questioned, was there anything conclusive showing me being involved? And he stated no. However, I still was sent up to go to trial, and my trial date at the first was scheduled for April of 2013. Then that got postponed to July, in which I was assigned an attorney who, in return, hired an investigator to investigate my crime and investigate the allegations of me being innocent. The investigator went out, did his investigative work. He got back with me, and he stated that he couldn't find the alleged victim, but he did speak to a witness who also stated that confirmed my story that I wasn't involved. The investigator spoke to me again about it and said that he was going to get in contact with my attorney and speak with my attorney to see if he can get the charges dismissed against me. However, my attorney never followed through with that, getting the charges dismissed. He just kept pursuing that we were going to go to trial and that my case would set precedents. Precedents meaning that there was no case like mine because there was never a victim. So at that time, I really didn't understand, but he still took advantage of the situation and still pursued the trial. We went to trial. I went to trial with two other co-defendants who in mid-trial took plea bargains to testify against me. And coming to find out as trial was starting that there was other investigators who were involved in my case that investigated my case. And that came about through my co-defendant's trial counsel. When the investigative reports came up, I asked to see them and looking at them. One investigative report that was done by the state, which was done in January, stated that one of my co-defendants is the one who committed the crime, and the witness that I've seen another investigative report where it came from one of our investigators, and he stated, and in that report it says that the witness don't know me and he never identified me. He only identified my other two co-defendants. As trial proceeded, none of these investigative reports were introduced as evidence, so the jury never got a chance to hear it. After that, I was complaining about them two reports, and as I'm complaining, one of my co-defendants were negotiating plea bargains with the state. So when their attorney brought up the fact that their witness that the state was using was not going to be credible because he contradicted himself in one report, the state offered that co-defendant a plea to conspiracy to go home, long day, testified against me and my other co-defendant. So once we received the statement of what that co-defendant was saying, we both knew what that pretty much stunned, because we know that the information that co-defendant was putting in there was not true by involving me. My other co-defendant, as we went back to Gander Hill the next day, that co-defendant took a plea. And he basically repeated the statement that we received from the first co-defendant that took the plea. And he, too, testified against me. So what I did was I still proceeded to go to trial because I didn't have any involvement. And I'm thinking that my attorney is going to use these reports to help prove my innocence, but he didn't. So the trial lasted a week with a whole lot of delays. With one victim, the victim never came and never testified that I had anything to do with any. So the witness got on the stand, the independent witness, the one that was interviewed, he stated that I wasn't in the courtroom when asked. He was shown also a lineup in which I was in, and he stated he never seen that lineup before. He never picked no one out. At that time, the judge intervened and told the state to ask him the question because he may have been confused. When he was told by an interpreter, ask that question, he pointed to me, but none of us know what the interpreter said to him. So my trial proceeded forward without a victim, just the alleged witness and my two co-defendants testifying against me. So 7 days later, I was convicted of robbery second and a conspiracy second. Now, mind you, my two co-defendants both testified against me that I was involved, but they said that we never conspired, we never discussed committing a crime together, and one co-defendant stated that he did it out of spare of the mood, which is in transcript. So we never talked or communicated about committing a crime, how did I get a conspiracy charge when the conspiracy says that we have to communicate and there has to be some type of mens rea, meaning there has to be a meeting of the mind, which it wasn't. And they both testified to that we neither talked or conspired. But my one co-defendant said he did it out of spur of the mood, and that when he was questioned about the conspiracy, he said they basically took a plea to testify to say that I was involved because they were facing a potential life sentence. So in other words, they testified to involve me in order to get out of a potential life sentence because they were habitual offenders. Now, speeding up a little bit, I was searching, kept researching my case over the years, getting shot down, filing motions, seeing my attorney was ineffective because he never used the investigative reports. So after 10 years, I felt me exhausting all my remedies. I requested my whole file because I wanted to see all the evidence because I knew my attorney was sandbagging on stuff. So after receiving all the evidence, my whole file, when going through all the evidence, I went across investigative file, which was in May of 2022, after I already had been incarcerated for 10 years, close to 10 years. And I see in there that there's a report from the investigator who interviewed the witness that testified at trial that says that he never identified me, nor did he pick me out of a lineup. And in that report, it says I was 7 feet away when the crime happened. And there was a photo that was attached to it that shows that I was not standing or around where the crime happened. And it was attached to that investigative report. And I was wondering why my lawyer didn't use it. So I wrote back to the place, which was the conflict of counsel, to see what's going on with my case because of all this information that's in there. Come to find out, one of my co-defendants and my attorney were involved in a case that was ongoing while I was on trial, so there was a conflict of interest there. And because when my co-defendant became a state witness, my lawyer couldn't fully cross-examine my co-defendant because of the prior case. So we couldn't bring up the prior bad acts of my co-defendant. So that came up, and this report surfaced. What the conflict of counsel did, they pointed me an account under the lawyer. That lawyer had my case for like 7 months. They came down and spoke with me and saying that I shouldn't have been incarcerated after they reviewed my files and looked at the emails that was sent between the state and my lawyer and the investigating officer. And so they were working on my case for about 7 months. Then that attorney went to another practice, no longer practiced criminal law, saying that they were going to civil. So I was appointed another counsel, my current counsel now, and they had my case for like 3.5 months. So altogether, it's been like 10 months, a little over 10 months or so, since they had appointed counsel and nothing has happened. And I know that with that report, it's considered newly discovered evidence. And there's a conflict of interest with the case with my attorney and my co-defendant, but I haven't heard anything. And I think they're pretty much, to me, it seems like they're dragging it out because there could be a time bar which I can't file anything, and that'll block me from the court. But the gist of my case is that there was evidence and exculpatory and exonerating evidence that was in my case, and the lawyer failed to introduce it at trial. Had he introduced it at trial, I wouldn't be incarcerated now. My name is Waymond Wright, currently at James D. 1.
As we narrow down on season 2 of Simone Love's reality radio, and we look to address some of the unconstitutional violated citizens of the United States, such as Mr. Waymond Wright, such as Mr. Rashee Harris, such as Mr. Michael Jones, and so many that we heard from on this season. So in response to the long-standing constitutional violations within the Delaware criminal justice system, the people of the state of Delaware have formed an Innocence Commission to review criminal offenders' convictions and sentences rendered in the name of the people. Under the authority of the United States Constitution, the First Amendment guarantees the right of the people to petition the government for redress of grievances. We, the people of the state of Delaware, hereby exercise our right to address the draconian and prejudicial criminal justice system administered by the Delaware Department of Justice by and through the Attorney General. For more information, please visit decideinnocence.com. Again, decideinnocence.com. Next week will be our final episode where we'll be talking about prison love. So make sure you tune in, same time, same place, with Simone Love of Simone Love's Reality Radio. Have a wonderful, wonderful week.
Listen up, listen in.